People will tell you to rent a car in the Dolomites. Ignore them. Here's how we did it in 10 days. Hi, I'm Shannon, and this is my husband Peter. This was our first multi-day hiking trip together and our first time in the Dolomites. We wanted to experience both sides of the Dolomites, the rugged hut-to-hut hiking and the luxury mountain retreats. So we planned a trip with a little bit of both, and we did it all without renting a car. We traveled in September when the summer crowds had died down and the weather was perfect. We flew from Dublin, Ireland into Venice and hopped on a bus straight from the airport to Cortina. We then spent several days hut-to-hut hiking west toward Val Gardena. Then we spent a few nights in some of the area's most luxurious lodging before departing from Munich. For the hiking portion, we used the Dolomiti Superski hiking galaxy to build our custom route, and our lift passes gave us unlimited access for 4 out of 5 consecutive days, which was absolutely a lifesaver. True story, and we'll get to that later. When we weren't on the trail, we relied on the regional bus system, which honestly worked a lot better than we expected. If you want the full budget breakdown, a complete packing list, and our hut-to-hut hiking guide for beginners, everything is linked in the description below. All right, let's get to it. Day 1 was all about getting to Cortina d'Ampezzo. There's a direct bus from Venice Airport that takes about 3 hours. Cortina is known as the Queen of the Dolomites, and there was tons of construction happening for the 2026 Winter Olympics when we visited. It's a chic little town with wine bars, luxury shopping, and plenty of gear shops for any last-minute items. We stayed at Hotel Regina, which was comfortable, reasonably priced, and had a fantastic breakfast. All right, day 1, leaving Cortina.
Full of energy,
ready to go. Now the real trip begins, our first day of hiking. This was a full day ascent into the mountains, mostly up forested trail. We stopped for a picnic lunch of goodies we picked up in Cortina and reached Cinque Torri, our first major checkpoint, by 2 p.m. Fun fact, this was my first time riding a ski lift. Despite my nerves, we made it to the top and were instantly rewarded with stunning panoramic views. This was also the first time of many where the Dolomites truly took my breath away. The views didn't even look real. We then headed back down so that we had time to catch another lift nearby up to Lagazui. We had just enough time for a beer or two at the hut at the top before we caught the last lift back down to our Rifugio at the base. Our Dolomiti Superski lift passes saved us so much time and energy so that we could actually enjoy these incredible vantage points. This first night we stayed in the Val Gardena Rifugio. This area is located along the Alta Via 1, one of the most popular hiking trails in the Dolomites, so huts book up quick. If, like me, it's been many years since your hostel days and you have trouble sleeping, my personal suggestion is to look for private rooms in some of the bigger refugios and snag them well in advance. We had a shared mixed room at this place and it was fine for one night, but I definitely didn't get the rest I needed. However, no amount of sleep could have prepared me for our unexpected hiccups on day 3. Day 3 was our biggest mileage day, going from Passo Falzarego to Pisciadu. The real stars of this day were our handy Dolomiti Superski lift passes, and boy did we put them to good use. Taking not 1, not 2, but 6 lifts to try and shave off some of our route. The morning began picking through these old World War I bunkers in Passo Valparola. Then, as we began our descent to the valley on the other side, we hit what was probably the most poorly marked section of trail we encountered on this entire trip.
We had a little off-roading, but it came out in one piece.
Trail wanted us to take the road down a little bit and then pick up the trail down the road. So we said, okay, there's not a lot of traffic, so we proceeded to do that. We get down the road, and the road was blocked. Probably not worth the risk. Backed up, and we took the cut-through trail, marked on all trails, bushwhacking through a cow pasture down here to this like by road that we're on. Could have been worse though, and we made it. Down in the village of St. Cassian, we popped into a grocery store for another picnic lunch and then proceeded on our lift hopping adventure over the Pfösl alpine meadows with stunning views of the Dolomites in all directions. This was actually a lot of fun, and we were really glad we decided to take the shortcut rather than hike around. Then we crossed the town of Corvara, took our last lift of the day, and began our final ascent towards Pisciadu. Or at least that was the plan. Time out. I need to tell you the full story, what actually happened. Even though we had taken multiple lifts, we had done a very long day, still having 1,000 meters of ascent. It was going to take us a couple of hours. It was already about 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the afternoon. I was starting to get nervous. My husband was really giving me a pep talk as we were starting to approach this looming, ominous mountain in front of us. We're looking up at this sheer rock face, knowing like up there is where we have to go. And both of us believed we could do it together at that point. We started seeing lots of signs in German and Italian about Via Ferrata equipment. Warning said, do not proceed without equipment. We're like, oh. We had noticed when we were looking at the trails, there was a Via Ferrata trail running in conjunction with what we believed to be a hiking trail. And we believed it to be a hiking trail because you can filter Via Ferratas out of all trails and the Dolomiti Superski hiking galaxy. And so when we would turn off the Via Ferrata routes, you could still see the hiking trail. The hiking trail was highlighted. And we just figured they were running parallel to each other or something. But the signs really made us question that. Then a local was coming down the mountain. We asked him about the conditions. He said, you know, it's a couple hours to get up there. It doesn't look like you have equipment. There's a cable you can hold on to, deep and steep. We just said, you know what? Let's turn around. And it was really that simple. And we knew that if anything were to happen up there, it would be so much worse. This is going to be that scary of a climb. How the heck are we going to get down tomorrow? It's maybe $50 or something that we had put down on this room. To us, that was not worth risking our lives just to make it. We're not in the business of blaming each other or being mad at each other because the trip didn't go exactly the way we had planned. It's just kind of part of the adventures. What we did find out is that some of the more affordable hotels don't offer single night rates. We ended up having to stay in a more expensive place because we could actually get a single night. When you stay in a hotel, you have a guest pass for the South Tyrol bus system included as part of your nightly stay. It was really handy. So we ended up getting the bus the next morning, just right there in town. I'm not really complaining. It was a really nice room. We had this beautiful... So back to Corvara we went on our surprise 7th lift ride of the day. I was not mad about our very swanky room with a view at the Hotel Marmolada. This ended up being a great option, and if we had to replan the trip, we would have done this from the get-go. Even though we avoided several crises today, tomorrow we would be riding in the Coffin Gondola. Refreshed from our impromptu night of luxury, we hopped on the bus in Corvara and rode through the Val Gardena Pass to pick up on our planned route. We ascended the base of Sassolungo and hiked around the southern edge of the mountain until we came to the highlight of the day, the Coffin Gondola at Forcella, Sassolungo. These unique double occupancy compartments date back to the 1950s. Their narrow design helps combat the high winds through the pass. Getting in and out of the Coffin Gondolas is quite sporty, especially with a pack on. But the 3+ minute nail-biter ride up to the top offers sweeping views of the valley below, some of the most incredible we saw the entire trip. I don't even remember the name of it. I'm so like...
It's the coffin car.
It's the Coffin Gondola. Oh my god, it's slowing down. I think we've stopped it because we've got massive packs and we're both in one. I thought you were supposed to go one person at a time. It's pretty f***ing scary though. We're not even close to the top, and look at that one swinging. Oh! Okay.
That's me shifting my weight.
Okay, let's not shift any weight. Let's stand very still. Who needs a Via Ferrata when you've got this? But look at these amazing views we've got. We had a hearty lunch at the hotel at the bottom and then continued on the trail hugging around Sassolungo until we reached our accommodation for the night, Plattkofelhutte, Rifugios, Sasso, Piatto. Try saying that 10 times fast. This refugio is situated on a nearly 100-year-old family farm, and they've been hosting guests for almost as long. Modern upgrades have been added over the years, but you'll still fall asleep to the timeless symphony of cowbells clanging and horses braying in the surrounding pastures. If you're not sure about the hostelish side of some huts, this Rifugio is a great example of how you can do rugged comfort. On day 5, we departed our Rifugio and began our descent towards the town of Santa Cristina with views of Seiser Alm as far as our eyes could see the whole way down. Fun fact, Seiser Alm, or Alpe d'Huez, is Europe's largest high-elevation alpine meadow. We could see the Seceda ridgeline far off in the distance, which is exactly where we were headed. When we got to Santa Cristina, we grabbed some more picnic lunch supplies and huffed it up to the coal riser lift. This short walk put us entirely out of breath, so it's funny to think that my husband didn't think we even needed to take the lift. That was a detail I would not let him live down.
Man.
At the top of this lift, we took another quick hike to yet another lift and went straight to the top of the Seceda ridgeline. Because the site is obviously so easy to access from multiple directions on these lifts, it gets a lot of visitors. And while the dramatic slope of the ridgeline is really impressive, we most enjoyed our picnic lunch facing the panoramic views to the south. Eventually, we made our way back down to Santa Cristina with a stop for a few cheeky beers between lifts at the Alma Hotel coal riser. Back in town, we checked into our accommodation for the night and began the luxury part of our trip. For the second half of our trip, we wanted to experience the luxurious side of the Dolomites, so we stayed at several high-end resort-style accommodations. Unlike the hut-to-hut hopping we did for the first part of the trip, these accommodations, which are all owned and operated by local families, are best suited for a longer stay, at minimum of several nights. First up, we have the VitalHotel Dosses in Santa Cristina. This incredible room with a view was like getting a warm hug from an old friend. The recently renovated spa took our post-trail rejuvenation even further with hay saunas, steam rooms, an ice chamber, and a mountain shower deluge. Outside, we soaked in views of the towering face of Sassolungo from the heated pool. Excursions from hiking to mountain biking are planned the night before with professional guides, so you get a truly custom experience. In the evening, we took our aperitivo on the terrace adjacent to the hotel garden, which also grows fresh ingredients for the kitchen. Speaking of, we feasted on an impressive evening spread of South Tyrolean delights and enjoyed a nightcap in the ultra-cozy Stube bar. This hotel is impressive as is, but it's the location that really makes it incredible. You're right in the heart of Val Gardena, one of the most iconic and accessible areas of the Dolomites. Hop on a bus and you'll be in Bolzano in just 20 minutes. Or head over to Seceda or Seiser Alm, which become big winter recreation areas in the snowy season. The VitalHotel Dosses is perfect if you want to be close to the action, but not in it, with some of the best of the Dolomites right at your doorstep. For a true retreat, head down to Deutschnofen, southeast of Bolzano, to the green luxury hotel Pfösl. This architectural masterpiece is just a short shuttle ride away from the area's best ski lifts and has plenty of recreation space right on property, which you might not want to leave once you get here. Hotel Pfösl is built around the original concept of 360 regeneration, with experiences that center your mind, body, and soul. Yoga and meditation classes, sunrise hikes, and a spa you can get lost in are the obvious offerings, which are indeed outstanding on their own. But subtle touches like the Wi-Fi controls in your room and a weekly bread baking class that uses this 300-year-old stone oven are what really ground you. This is the kind of place where simple pleasures are the centerpiece of the experience. And you don't just lose track of time, you forget what day it is. Accommodations range from simple studio rooms and suites to chalet-style cabins for the ultimate privacy. What really captivated us about the Hotel Pfösl was that you don't have to choose between indulgence and responsibility. Carbon offsetting, renewable energy sources, locally sourced seasonal cuisine, water conservation, even supporting local talent. It's all tastefully and authentically tucked into the experience. If you've ever dreamed of staying in a castle, this is your chance to do it in the Dolomites. The Ansitz Steinbock is perched in the village of Villanders and dates back to the 1500s. The aristocratic manor home and courthouse, turned village tavern and inn, turned boutique hotel with a fine dining restaurant and wine cellar, hosts just 12 exquisitely designed suites, each of which has its own private in-room sauna. In fact, the entire place is like a masterclass in blending historic preservation with modern design. Take breakfast in the upstairs Stube, aperitivo on the terrace, and dinner in the downstairs Stube or the fine dining chamber. Did we mention the award-winning head chef here is only in his mid-20s? Much of the staff here is impossibly young for how professional they are, and yet they greet you warmly by first name and remember exactly how you take your coffee or cocktail. At the Steinbock, you're encouraged to give in to the temptation to just relax in your room, which feels like a home away from home by design. But if you're looking to venture out, visit one of the local winemakers or head down into the picturesque town of Klausen, where we enjoyed surprisingly lively, I dare say even a bit raucous, Oktoberfest events. A true highlight of our stay, though, was an e-biking excursion high up into Alta Via, where we met Elizabeth, the mastermind behind the Steinbock, at one of her family's sister properties, a traditional alpine farm hut. There we had a Tyrolean dumpling making lesson with the guidance of our expert local Elizabeth and enjoyed a lunchtime feast for both our eyes and stomachs. Curated experiences like these are the pride and joy of the Ansitz Steinbock, making every guest at this castle feel like royalty. If you look for one-of-a-kind experiences, this is it. If you want to plan your own trip to the Dolomites, here are 5 important tips. First, you do not need a car. Public transport in the Dolomites is very good. In fact, we're not sure where else in the world does all-season infrastructure quite like the Dolomites. Second, invest in the lift passes. If you're going to be here for a while, they will save you time, energy, and money, and help you cover way more ground. Some of the best views we saw were from the gondolas, and with our passes, we could ride them all day, every day. Third, don't just do the Alta Via routes. Sure, they're popular, so there are lots of resources about them online, but you can build your own routes pretty easily, and the entire area is so stunning, it's not like you're going to be missing out on the best views. Next, remember that you don't necessarily have to choose between roughing it and treating yourself. On one end, there are basic mountain huts for extreme budgets. In the middle are standard hotels and refugios with nice creature comforts. And at the top are luxurious resorts and spas where you can really ball out. I do recommend starting your trip with the more basic stays and working your way up the luxury ladder like we did. That way you have a grand finale to your trip. Lastly, look beyond the summer high season. We took this trip in mid-September and the weather was perfect. We didn't encounter any insane crowds, even at the most popular places. I know this sounds cliche, but the Dolomites truly have something for everyone. This particular hiking trip works well for first-timers like me, more seasoned hikers like my husband, and couples like us. On the trails, we met young, gap-year backpackers, middle-aged solo trippers, and retirees. We didn't see too many kids, probably because this was the start of the school year, but there were lots of kid-friendly elements, from mountain parks to luxury lodging. We've created 5 and 10-day itineraries inspired by this trip on our blog, plus a first-timer's guide for hut-to-hut hiking and other useful information like what to pack and where to stay, all of which is linked in the description below. When it was time for us to depart the Dolomites, we hopped on a train to Munich, where we partook in some obligatory Oktoberfest antics before our flight home. From the moment we left South Tyrol, though, we were already dreaming of our next visit to the Dolomites, sure this would be the first of many unforgettable trips.